Welcome to This Explainer. Look, if you've ever stared at a massive stack of school paperwork and felt completely lost, you are absolutely not alone. Today, we're diving right into demystifying the special education evaluation process. The goal here is simple: to help you become a wildly confident advocate for your child by giving you the tools to decode exactly what's going on behind the scenes of these evaluations. Let's get right to it.
So, the core question every single evaluation must answer is, what is your child struggling with and why? A truly effective evaluation doesn't just fill a folder. It's not about checking off some bureaucratic box. It's a diagnostic tool. Think about it. If your child struggles to write a complete paragraph, we actually need to know why. Are we looking at a fine motor skill issue, language processing, maybe executive functioning? If the evaluation just says they struggle to write but totally misses the root cause, well, it hasn't done its job.
Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the foundation, the toolkit, decoding the data, spotting red flags, and finally, taking action.
Let's kick things off with part 1, the foundation.
This evaluation is the absolute bedrock of your child's individualized education program. Think of it literally like building a house. If your foundation is cracked or maybe incomplete, the rest of the house, meaning the IEP goals, is inevitably going to fail. It won't address the root causes holding your child back. If you get a report full of test scores but short on practical meaning, the educational team is going to write goals that just miss the mark entirely. Honestly, that's exactly why learning to read these reports is one of the absolute most powerful skills you can develop as an advocate.
Moving right along to section 2, the toolkit.
It's actually really interesting how many different tools and specialists are available to act as detectives here. Depending on your child's specific needs, the school might bring in a psychologist for cognitive and memory testing or an educational specialist for reading, writing, and math. You've got speech-language for communication, occupational therapy for fine motor and sensory processing, physical therapy for gross motor and balance. Plus, there are behavioral evaluations, assistive technology assessments, and social history, which is essentially where your vital input as a parent enters the record. The school figures out the mix based on the areas of concern. But, and this is a huge takeaway, if you think an area is missing from this toolkit, you must say so in writing before you sign the consent form. Speak up and ask them to add it.
All right, let's jump into section 3, decoding the data.
Okay, this is often the most daunting part. Actually reading these long, super dense reports written by professionals. They can be incredibly intimidating, for sure. But we can break them down using a simple 5-step progression. Step 1 is honestly the ultimate life hack. Skip to the end. Just read the summary and recommendations first. By doing this, you know exactly what the evaluator concluded, giving you clear context for when you go back through the dense data. From there, you move to Step 2, understand the scores. Step 3, look for patterns. Step 4, check the classroom impact. And finally, Step 5, review the recommendations to see if they actually match the findings.
Now, consider this your ultimate cheat sheet for Step 2. Evaluators use what are called standard scores. As you can see, a score between 90 and 109 falls right into the average range, sitting between the 25th and 73rd percentiles. If a score drops below 70, you're looking at the significantly below average range, which is below the 2nd percentile. Keeping this chart handy is a total game changer because it helps you instantly translate all that academic jargon into clear, real-world comparisons.
And always, always remember the number 100. Standard scores use 100 as the absolute dead center average. Most people are going to score somewhere between 85 and 115. So if your child scores an 85, they're at the 16th percentile. That just means they scored higher than 16% of their same age peers. Grounding yourself in the number 100 really prevents you from panicking over numbers that, in reality, might actually be perfectly typical.
Now, a quick warning about standard scores versus grade equivalents. While you should be focusing heavily on standard scores and percentiles, be very wary of grade equivalents or age equivalents. If a report says your child has a grade equivalent of 2.3, it does not mean your child belongs in the 2nd grade. No way! It just means they scored similarly to how a typical 2nd grader performs on that one specific test. Those numbers are incredibly easy to misinterpret, so keep your focus strictly on the standard scores.
Moving to Step 3, the real magic is actually found in the gaps between the numbers. You want to look for the pattern, not just isolated scores. For instance, say a child has a high verbal IQ but a very low processing speed. They're likely struggling in class because of how long it takes them to process information, not because of a lack of intelligence. Imagine knowing all the answers in your head, but your hand literally just won't write them down fast enough before the bell rings. A good report is going to connect these specific patterns to practical classroom impacts and offer tailored recommendations. If the report just spits out numbers without explaining the so what, you need to ask the evaluator to explain it.
This naturally leads us to Section 4, Spotting Red Flags.
While most evaluations are done professionally and in good faith, as an empowered parent, you've got to know how to spot systemic failures in these reports. Take a look at this list. Are your original concerns totally ignored? Are the recommendations super generic, like seeing preferential seating or extended times slapped onto a report without specific findings to back them up? Or what if the report is essentially just a data dump of scores with zero explanation of what they actually mean? What if the classroom observation is entirely missing? That's highly unusual. Maybe the report completely contradicts your lived daily experience at home, or reflects absolutely no parent input. Oh, and another major red flag? Finding out the report was pre-written before the eligibility meeting even happened, completely bypassing any real collaboration. If you see these red flags, write down your concerns immediately and bring them directly to the meeting.
Finally, we arrive at Section 5, Taking Action.
So what actually happens if the team's investigation is botched, the red flags are flying, and the report is deeply flawed? Well, this is your legal escalation path, the Independent Educational Evaluation, or IEE. An IEE is an evaluation conducted by a qualified professional who is not employed by the school district. If you disagree with the school's findings, you have the legal right to request an IEE at public expense.
Let's break this down into actionable steps. Step 1, you simply put your disagreement in writing and request the IEE. The law actually says you don't even have to give a detailed explanation of why you disagree. Step 2, the school must either agree to fund it or they have to formally file for a due process hearing to defend their own evaluation to a hearing officer. They can't just say no and move on. Step 3, regardless of how it happens, once that IEE is completed, the school must consider the new findings. They don't have to adopt every single recommendation, but they are legally required to consider them and respond in writing.
Now that you have the tools to decode the data, spot the red flags, and understand your rights, I want to leave you with this final thought. Look at those reports again. Look past the dense jargon and ask yourself, does your child's evaluation truly tell the whole story or just the story the school had time to write? If it doesn't uncover what your child genuinely needs to succeed, you now have exactly what it takes to step up, demand the whole truth, and ensure they get the foundation they deserve. Thank you for joining me in this explainer. Keep advocating.